For the last 5 Sundays, I've been speaking on the theme of 5 wellness habits. And it's a road to personal well-being and wholeness. And today is our last one. Just for your, just to recall our memory, right? Or to, not that I want to test your memory or anything, it's just kind of randomly, if you could actually recall what are some of the titles, like random order, anybody? Like a random order. Well, first one was what? Start letting go, right? That was first one. Yeah. Good, that's good. Second one was it's coming back, admit that you're lost, right?
Yeah.
Right? Well, it's all here at front, right? And then third one was watching sunrise or sunset. Not exactly, but it's very similar. And the last Sunday was on what? It's against the current, right? Good. You're very good, folks. Yeah, that's good. So I've been trying to juxtapose the 2 different scripture passages, our lectionary passages from Greek text and Hebrew text from Jeremiah and from the book of Luke as well. And it's quite challenging personally for me trying to integrate them together into one title and trying to put them all together. So I just want to admit that it's kind of challenging for me. I wish that I had more time to do some research and to properly communicate. And the other challenge was that trying to communicate to not only those people who are church, but also non-church people. So that was kind of my attempt to trying to title like wellness habits. Like, I usually don't do that, right? It's you get the titles like that from some self-help books, right? So yeah. Well, wait until next one. It's like next one is 5 characters you meet in heaven. Okay, so just so that's sort of where I'm going. So I'm trying to do something a bit different. So not only for the church people, but also people who are kind of mindful of us because we're not only here as congregation face to face, but there are people out there who are watching our worship and sermon ongoing basis through our church website. And so I'm mindful of them, so they might not be all church, and they don't have all the church language and all that. So I'm trying to kind of communicate in both ways. So if you're kind of thinking that is Richard going into kind of new age thing, no, I'm not. Just trying to communicate in a way that it's kind of resonating to both inside, those people who are inside and outside the church, so that the gospel of Jesus Christ means to all of us, right? So that's my intention. Today is our last habit, wellness habit. I titled that, Learn to Wait in Silence. So the question in the morning at the beginning of worship service was about silence. Like when I do the question, but at the beginning of worship service, it's all tied into our worship series, right? So like you're having your silence time. But when I say learn to wait in silence, also means to silence as big S, right? Capital S, silence as learn to wait in God. So we're talking a little bit about faith today, faith. Now I'm going to tell you a story that I think I told you some time ago. Some of you might remember and some of you might not. But certain stories are worth telling more than once. And I think this time I'm going to tell you the story in full version, right? I think I just briefly mentioned that before, but this time I will try to go into detail. By the way, how many of you have had a church minister come over to your house for prayer, for bless your house or family, for healing in general in your lifetime? Many of you, yeah, many of you. Yeah, we do that all the time. That's good. Now, next question. How many of you have invited church minister or person of great faith to come and perform an exorcism in your house? Anybody? Exorcism. To drive out evil spirit in your house. Well, yeah, none of you. Good. And of course, we don't request stuff like that, right? From our church minister, especially if you are United Church denomination, from United Church minister. That's too, what do you call that? Too bizarre or too antiquated, right? Too only kind of happens in the movies, right? Or in the Bible, right? Happens in the Bible, right? So, I was called upon to perform an exorcism and I was ministering at First Nations Reserve. So that happens about 20 years ago. So one of the church members called me and asked me to come over to his friend's house to bless the family, to bless the house. He never mentioned anything about exorcism or anything about evil spirit. He just said, come and bless the house. So I said, yes, a very standard pastoral care visit, right? So I got to the house and there were many family members, standard family, full of family members. They just lost their young son from committing suicide. So they were together to support one another as they grieved together, supporting one another. And the mother of the deceased son, she said, can you pray for the family? So I said, yes, and I prayed for the family, of course. And after that, she said, can you bless the house? So I said, I was going to about to bless the house, and she said, no. You need to go down to the basement, she said. Go down to the basement. I said, why? And she said, my son committed suicide in the basement. And his sister found him, committing suicide in 2 days later. And she said, you need to cast out the evil spirit from the basement. We are afraid to go down there, she said. In other words, she was asking me to perform an exorcism, sort of, right? Casting out evil spirits lurking in the basement. And she said, you need to go down there alone. We're afraid. I'm not. So they left me all by myself in the dark basement with no light on. It was like no light. Good thing it wasn't during daylight, so I had a little bit of light. So I was there all by myself, feeling totally scared, inadequate. And what do I do? What do I say? You see, they don't teach this kind of stuff in seminary, right? No exorcism class. If you're Roman Catholicism, they might be different, but I studied, no exorcism class. So I was kind of standing in the middle of that dark basement, feeling totally out of my ministry comfort zone, feeling helpless and scared, and if there was any measure of competency and faith I had before I came over there, completely evaporated by that point, utterly helpless. Before, I thought I knew something. I thought I had some faith. Now, by that time, I felt totally lost and deep need of somebody to help me. But there was nobody. Scared and feeling helpless. So I did the only thing that I knew. I prayed the Lord's Prayer, right? So I did it for 3 times. Only about very short, 2 minutes, right? And then what else? I watched the movie The Exorcist. Anybody watch the movie The Exorcist? No? Back in the 1970s, that's a well-known movie. No, you haven't watched that. You should watch that. Back in the 1970s, several times. I watched that movie several times, so I knew something about how to perform an exorcism based on my knowledge from the movie. But I didn't have a holy water. You gotta have a holy water, right? I didn't bring any wooden cross because you gotta have a wooden cross, and I wasn't wearing even cross at all. And I wasn't even wearing my proper minister color like this, right? So I wasn't equipped for the task. So what do? What do you do? Well, you continue to pray, right? So I pray something like, I think that's what I heard from the movie. It said, in the name of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the Lord and Savior, I cast you out. If there's any evil spirit in this house, I command you to show yourself. Which I regret saying that because Right after that, I regretted. So I said, I command you to show you something. I said, I command you to get out of this house. That's what I said. Okay? So I probably repeated several times, and I felt kind of great. You know, you kind of. So I prayed out louder so that people upstairs could hear, right? So I said, in the name of Jesus Christ. So after about 10 minutes of that, I felt kind of tired, kind of nothing happened, right? And I got scared again. So I came up and told the family, it's okay now. I blessed the house. We can all come down to the basement now. And of course, nobody came down. So that was that, folks. That was that. My own one and only exorcism in my ministry. I tell you, I really felt out of place. I really felt out of my league. Surely lacking faith, lacking skill. I wish I had a stronger faith and skill set for the job. What if an evil spirit really showed up that day? I would be a basket case. So on my way, I think I prayed something like this: God, don't put me in that situation ever again, right? Or if you need to give me stronger faith just in case next time. So God heard my prayer, and luckily no one has yet invited me to perform an exorcism since then. Let me tell you, I'm a man of little faith. Let God to boost up my faith. Now, so something similar is happening in our text today in the book of Luke. The disciples, they felt they were lacking faith and asked Jesus to increase their faith, boost us, boost and update our faith. So just a little bit of background here. So Jesus speaking to his disciples about the importance of what? Forgiveness. That's what Jesus was saying. That you should forgive those who have repented of their wrongs, not just once or twice or 3 times, but even up to 7 times, he said, right? 7 times. Even if they have committed the sins over and over again, even if they are habitual sinner, you should extend forgiveness if they truly come, confess, and repent. You must forgive, he said. Now, just on the side note, just want to do some survey. What's your maximum of your forgiveness, extending forgiveness? And from a scale of 1 to 7, anybody, how many of you actually extend forgiveness once? Raise your hand. At least once. At least once. Okay. How many of you, let's say, 7 times? 7 times. Oh my gosh. Okay. How many of you are at least twice? Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. How many of you are about 6 times? So I don't know about you folks, but my maximum is up to 3 times, right? Because 3 strikes and you're out. You heard that, right? 3 strikes, you're out, right? I can be very sympathetic and generous up to 3 times, but after that, I'm sorry, but don't come to me for forgiveness. My faith can only tolerate up to 3 times, only embrace that much. A man of little faith. But Jesus said 7 times, folks. And somewhere else, he says something like 7 times 77. Have you heard that passage, right? Which is impossible, right? Unless you have a great faith, like faith of Moses, the faith of Abraham, or the faith of Billy Graham. Okay, something like that. Which all the disciples felt that they didn't possess. And they were like, wow, Jesus, hold on a minute. What do you mean 7 times? That's impossible unless you increase our faith. And then Jesus, this is what Jesus is going, well, let me see. Well, if you had faith the size of this mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree to uproot itself from here to plant in the sea, and it would obey your command. Wow, impressive. Even the size of mustard seed, I can do that incredible stuff. Wow. But wait a minute. First, when you think about I would be quite offended by what Jesus just said. Is he saying that the size of my faith is even smaller than the size of the mustard seed? Since I have never accomplished such a miraculous feat? I mean, I know I'm not a man of great faith, but I think I possess a faith much bigger than the size of mustard seed, maybe the size of apple seed, right? Or the size of plum seed, or the size of peach seed, or even the size of mango seed, but absolutely bigger than the size of mustard seed, right? So if I were a disciple, I would be very offended by Jesus' remark. How could Jesus even compare the size of my faith to the size of mustard seed? The smallest seed, you can't even see it. Very, very small. How could he? Right? And the second thing is that what does faith have to do with moving a tree from here to there? I mean, it sounds very impressive, but who cares? Right? If you plant a tree here or there, we are asking you to increase our faith, we can forgive the sinners, and now you are saying this nonsense about planting a tree from here to there in the sea? If I really wanted to uproot a tree to plant there, I would use John Deere backhoe loader to do the job. Not my faith. What does faith have to do with moving a tree? Is he trying to be silly here? So, what is Jesus really saying in the parable of mustard seed? Is he really saying what he's saying, or is he really trying to be silly? Going along with the silliness of disciples' questions about increasing their faith. Now, have you heard about the phrase, it says, there is no such thing as a dumb question? Right? Have you heard about that, right? Well, there's no dumb question, but there are some silly questions, like some obvious questions, and you're like, duh, right? And how do you respond? You respond like with a silly, like you respond with something with a certain sense of sarcasm in there, right? Like, let me give you some example. Like when you're walking up at midnight with a phone call, and the caller says, "Sorry, were you asleep?" And you respond, "No, I was doing research with the Zulu tribes in Africa, Mariona. You must be really stupid to think I was asleep." Like when you're bleeding and someone asks you, "Are you okay?" "Oh no, I'm just sitting here bleeding because it's fun." Like you're in an elevator and someone asks you, "Is this the elevator go up?" And then you say, "No, this is one to go sideways." Like when you have your arm in strings and you are using crutches and your friends ask you, "What's wrong with you?" And after looking at your crutches and stringed arm, you say, "No, I have a toothache." And lastly, when you are at a bus stop, waiting for a bus, and someone comes up to you and asks, "Are you waiting for a bus?" And you answer, "No, I'm waiting for my flight." The parable of the mustard seed was a response, sort of sarcastic response to the silliness of disciples' question regarding increase our faith. You have no idea what you're asking, do you? Teachers, sort of like, increase your faith? Really? Okay. If your faith is like the size of mustard seed, this, plant this, and uproot it over. Duh. And then Jesus corrects them. He says, "But," he said, right after that, he says, we use this word for the purpose of correcting a previous sentence. Jesus tells them another illustration, but at this point, this is the point. But, which is correction. The disciples thought that the issue was the size or lack of their faith, and they needed to possess sufficient faith to accomplish the task. But Jesus teaches that it's all about relationship. It's all about relationship. He tells a parable about the relationship between a master and a servant. And he goes on like this: a servant is there to serve his or her master. no questions asked, no complaints, and no expectation of gratitude from the master. It's the way it is. As a servant, you are expected to carry out your task, whether you like it or not, whether you understand it or not, whether you are being praised for your work or not. The master has no obligation to reward you or praise you or thank you for the job you are expected to carry out. That was a relationship between slaves and masters in that historical context. Every one of the disciples understood the relationship and the nature of that relationship. Now, faith can be understood only in the context of our relationship with God, not apart from it. The problem with disciples was that they thought the faith was something they possessed and something that can be increased to meet a certain task. It's not about the lack of faith, it's not about the size of our faith, or even the faith itself is an issue in here. Because faith is not something that we possess, and that's something we can build up in the way we try to build up our bodies. Faith is not some kind of superpower gift or key to some mystery or even a password to open heaven's gate. We cannot think of faith apart from our relationship with the source of faith, our God. Faith is a gift from God and functions only in the realm of God's grace and mercy. So last Sunday, I briefly spoke about what faith is. That faith is living tomorrow, today. It's an action oriented. That faith is having this alternate view of the future that God has promised to us. And to live that future today and here. Faith is the confidence we have in God, that God has restored already, forgiven the most hideous sinners because of the sacrifices of his Son, Jesus. So we are to forgive and to welcome, embrace those who have hurt us. No matter what. It's got nothing to do with the size of my faith. Everything to do with God and God's promise of restoration. It's already, we look at the God's restoration in that person already been restored. And that brings that reality of tomorrow today, and we are able to forgive now. Because God has restored already. Faith is living tomorrow, today. It's in the book of Lamentations. We see this. The prophet is Jeremiah is stirring the people of Israel to have that hope, the hope of a future that God has promised, to put faith in God's faithfulness to God's people, to put trust in God, who will restore God's people in the end. The people of Israel will go through hardship, will endure the sufferings, they will lose much in coming years for their wrongs, but ultimately God will restore them, bring them back to their land, restore the nation, and renew the land and the people. Jeremiah is encouraging the people of Israel to have that hope, the hope of future God has promised. And that hope, the future reality, is the ultimate reality for the faithful ones of God here and now. And for all of us, we need that kind of faith. Our faith is intimately linked to relationship with our God, our trust in God's promise of a better future, and only grows as we learn to wait in God and wait in silence in God's promise. To learn to wait in silence means to learn to be intimate with the one who promised us to restore the heaven and earth. To learn to wait in silence does not mean to just sit around and meditate and watching the sun goes down, although that's good. It means to live our life in a way to continue the work that God has started in the beginning when God created the universe, and God said, it is good, indeed it's very good, God said. That we are the co-creator in making this world a better place for all of us. to live, to continue the work of creating God's goodness all around us, in spite of doom and gloom all around us, in spite of brokenness we see every day. Our faith is a way of life here and now that's clearly oriented toward the future that God has promised through the sacrifice of his Son, Jesus Christ, and anchored in the goodness of God that is planted in every soul in the beginning, when God said it is good, indeed very good. Whether we are Christian or not, we are all created in the image of God. After God created Adam and Eve, God said it is very good, God said. And regardless who we are, regardless who we think we are, regardless of what the word says who we are, regardless, we are all created in the very image of God. The goodness of God is planted in each one of us. Because God breathed God's Spirit into us. The spark of holiness has entered into every soul. The seed of goodness is planted in every soul. But it's just a spark, not an amber or blaze or great ball of fire. Just a spark. It's just a seed, indeed the smallest seed, however, with an endless potential. Faith is like having a small mustard seed. Faith means waiting. Faith will grow if we learn how to wait. Waiting in silence, waiting through suffering, and waiting with hope, and waiting as we work to create goodness all around us. So learn to wait in silence. Learn to wait in God. For the mustard seed will eventually grow to be the largest tree in the forest. And thanks be to God.